My name's Jeff Martin. I'm an artist. I live in Melbourne, Australia. I'm going to visit 12 of the world's best restaurants. So I'm going to go to those restaurants, spend one night there. I'm going to sketch the kitchens during service and try and make a painting based on that experience. Arrived here in New York, I have no idea what to expect. Thinking of American food, you've got to think about fast food, really, hamburgers. When I think in terms of fast food, and I try and balance that in my head against what fine dining is and what my expectations from these restaurants are, I really don't know what I'm about to find.
It's hot. It's really, really hot. And we're just about to head off to Times Square and have a little bit of a look around.
Times Square's full on. Crazy. And I kind of felt like I was removed from it. I went up to the top of this staircase and then I just kind of sketched. I think it captures the noise, actually, of the place.
This is the first time in any of my books I've ever drawn the Golden Arches. In amongst all the lights, glitz and chaos that is this big, massive machine of a city, coming from somewhere like Italy or France where you're tied to the history of those cuisines, how does a fine dining restaurant stand out? Recognised as the first pizza. Still making it the same way. That's the best pizza in New York. You know, you see pictures of something and you hear about something and it's famous. You know, Harry met Sally, that's where she had a...
You walk in and they give you a ticket. And then on that ticket, you kind of walk around and you can have anything you want, drinks, food, everything else, and then you just pay as you leave.
So many images of the Reuben sandwich, and to actually taste one and eat one in there, kind of glad I did that.
And the Reuben sandwich is designed to be eaten by two people, which I was told after I consumed the whole thing.
Pastrami first. It's pickled in the back in a brine solution, Grandpa's recipe. Change the water every 3 days or so for almost a month. And then when it's ready, it gets spiced. That's the black on the outside. It's a rub. It goes in the smokehouse for 2 whole days at a low smoking temperature, can't tell you that. And certain kind of wood chips, can't tell you that either. We'd have to get rid of you if we did. It then comes back into the kitchen, gets boiled for about 4 hours. And then it gets steamed for about 2 behind the counter, and then you get to, the guy slice it by hand for you, and you get to eat it. Basically, it's all done by hand, not by machine.
The secret is they've stuck to something. It really works. They've stuck to a recipe that works, a proven way of doing something. It's a traditional method, and they haven't compromised it. It's all done by hand. You've got to admire that. It's just great. It just shows when you're onto something, if you stick to it. I'm in Madison Square Park, off Madison Avenue in the centre of New York, and we've got a little hamburger place here called Shake Shack. Now, I've had hamburgers before, I've had good hamburgers, but there are 80 people in this line. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
The story goes that Shake Shack evolved from the kitchen of 11 Madisson Park, which is the next restaurant we're going to. It's so crazy busy now that the staff don't even stop and get a hamburger on the way to work, which they used to love to do. I'm waiting to go into the restaurant of Daniel Hum, 11 Madison Park. It's a restaurant that is described as French with a New York twist.
The work ends up being one painting.
When I'm looking at a painting and I'm looking at the structure of a painting, I can only paint what I see. So I've got to stick to those rules I set myself. In this kitchen, strong characters in amongst the pace stand out, and I've got to focus on those people in my work. I can't help but notice how calm James is running the whole show, running the past tonight for Daniel.
About to start.
As an artist, when somebody's reviewed or critiqued, you can't help but look at yourself. And I'm curious about these restaurants. When you get a ranking and you're put in the top 50, how do you cope with that pressure? Do you stick to your guns, stay with what you know, or do you have to look at yourself again?
When we were named as one of the top 50 restaurants in the world, that was a big moment. And that happened 2 years ago. And after that, we really looked at everything and we said, are we really one of the top 50 restaurants in the world? And we knew we had a lot of work to do, and we really want to live up to the expectations that people now have. We used to have 125 seats, and we reduced their seats to 75 seats. But then at the same time, we also said, the menu has to be more unique and different. And so the menu that we do now, it only names the principal ingredient. There are 16 words. Each of them is an ingredient and represents a dish. And people can choose the ingredients they want and also give us feedback on what they don't like or what they really like. So the menu becomes really made to measure.
I know so many small restaurant operators that won't deviate at all from their menu. What they do at 11 is they give you an idea of the menu, just one word, and then if you say to the waiter, I like morels or I like asparagus, they will adapt the entire menu to suit each individual, which is mind-blowing. There's a number of different ways of looking at the way the menu's structured. One, it is very clever because it makes you believe that you've got control of the menu while they're still controlling the ingredients and what's fresh and available. The other thing is you're also looking after a market that knows what they want, and they feel in some way like they've got some kind of control, which is just brilliant. One thing that springs to mind is how does somebody review a restaurant like this where every single menu is different? How can you sit back and say that not only why is it in the top 50 when it keeps changing, but is it in the top 50 because it keeps changing? And how does a reviewer walk in and review for everyone who can write their own menu?
I give a lot of responsibilities to different people, which that creates a lot of ownership. Every idea that we have is a collaborative idea. So everyone feels very committed to it. And if I turn my back, it doesn't matter because it's their idea too, so they care just as much as me. And so I don't need to worry about, people cutting corners when we don't pay attention because everyone cares just as much as me. We can teach everything. You know, what we do is not brain surgery. Passion is everything, and but also of how, you know, the personality of who somebody is. Is somebody a good person? Hey, come back, please. If a woman walks on the street and she drops a scarf and she doesn't see it, and a person next to her sees it, and the person who picks that scarf up and runs after the woman to give her the scarf, that's the person I want to hire in my kitchen, because they're genuine, really good people, and they really care.
The beautiful thing about this particular work will be looking at detail versus vast gaps. So there's a big gap between benches to create distance, but then you've got detail coming in, sneaking in. The tiles are obviously red, the shirts are green. The heat lamps really stand out in the kitchen, and the issue with that is going to be what's behind them. So I'm going to have to paint the entire kitchen, and then the last thing I'll do will be put this in, and I can't afford to muck it up.
This place is so big and so amazing, you just want to see everything you can. And 3 hours sleep a night is not enough. Well, there is the jalapeno margarita with cucumber. Is it too early for one of those now? One of the things that keeps coming up in these kitchens and is referred to often is the term sustainability and local produce. Obviously, these people care a lot about it. Where does it come from in a place like New York? I'm making my way to the Botanical Gardens, where we're going to meet a curator who runs a children's garden where they grow a lot of sustainable produce, educate the kids, and apparently it's used by chefs.
They do a spring season, 12 Saturday mornings, or they do fall or summer.
Do the kids, if they're coming from somewhere, you know, let's just assume the Bronx, local.
Mostly, yeah.
Do they have access to gardens themselves, or is this a steep learning curve for them?
I'd say most of them don't, or their parents don't have the expertise to share it with them if they do have space.
Great. What size is the land space?
This is almost 2 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, watch your head here.
All the gardens broken up into countries. So there's a Chinese section, a Mexican section, Vietnamese, Italian, and an older person from the community will maintain that little garden. And school kids come in and work with those different groups. So this is where food is just divine. What it does, it opens communication. It opens communication between diverse groups, it educates and it feeds. Beautiful. And these kids, some of them who couldn't tell you where a tomato came from, learnt from the Italian lady how to grow tomatoes, learned how chilies, whatever. So in a multicultural society where there's angst and you're coming from a poor area, these kids are basically learning that the Chinese old man's actually really nice and knows a whole lot of stuff. And then they're allowed to take the greens home, and they go home and they say to the mum and dad, look at this. And they go, what's that? And they said, this is, and they show them how to cook. Annie Novak, who runs the children's program at the garden, also runs a rooftop farm in Brooklyn.
Well, I've been growing vegetables now for 5 years with the children's gardening program at the New York Botanical Gardens.
We build our cities on prime farmland. That gets built out. And here on this rooftop, we've got 6,000 square feet of soil, a commercial enterprise, providing chefs with local produce.
I think the intention with this for the first year certainly was to get the community excited about the idea of bringing plants into their lives. Certainly the more attention we get, the more customers we get, the more likely it is we'll make money.
The funny thing about this farm is that it makes more sense to place it on a roof than to use ground level, which is obviously at a premium in New York.
If we decided to grow only high-value crops, like if we planted this whole roof with mesclun mix, which is like a really $16 a pound salad mix, we could make a lot more money. But that, I think, would come with like a pretty clear decision to be that kind of farm. And the kind of farm we wanted to be was a place where like Brooklyn chefs who love good food could get a wide range of really good food.
When you work in the food industry and it's your life and soul for so many years, you hear a name, and I'm about to meet one of the biggest names, Thomas Keller.
A leaf could fall from a tree, and I'll be walking in that park with a musician and a poet. And the poet will interpret it into a poem. The musician will write a song. And I'll define a dish. So it's always about that interpretation. And then, of course, what happens to the world? It evolves. So it's awareness, inspiration, interpretation, and evolution that really drive us.
Before I came to New York, I was on the west coast of the States visiting the French Laundry, which is the sister restaurant to Per Se. You know you're somewhere significant. You know you're somewhere important. It's kind of like the mecca of the food industry, really.
One of my drawings is actually of the office with the kitchen through the windows.
I can only draw what I see, and I was constrained to the office. The chef at Per Se under Thomas Keller is Eli, and once he realised what I do and had a look at my sketchbooks and saw some previous images, just said, make yourself at home, which is so refreshing and lovely.
From there, it's mutual love.
My initial impression of the kitchen is everything is beyond spotless. Everything is so clean, everything is precise, everything has its place.
This is really big, this kitchen, it's amazing. But all the action's going to happen here. I'm pretty much going to be in this area trying to sketch and not get in anyone's way. There's only a couple of spots. I better get some sketching done before it all happens. On the television screen up here to the right is a link to the French Laundry, the second restaurant in California. And it's kind of funny because these guys are setting up for dinner and they're just finishing up lunch service.
The video connection was something that when I was opening Per Se, and I was at the French Laundry, actually we were on vacation, I was trying to think how I was going to stay connected. And more important, how the two restaurants were going to stay connected. It's about sharing. It's about sharing that experience. It's about seeing somebody, 2,500 miles away who is dedicated and committed to the same things that you are.
While they're packing up here, those guys are in the middle of working, and sometimes they come in the morning and they've started work and those guys are just prepping. So kind of funny the way the two kitchens work in different time zones.
Really, I don't have to maintain a real strong personal presence in each one of my restaurants. And I'm able to do that because I have really, really strong teams. And I've always said, if I have to be there, I haven't really hired, trained, and mentored the right people. As a true mentor, if your mentees aren't better than you are, then you really haven't done a good job.
Nobody gets hired based on a resume. The only way you can get a job there is to come in and spend 2 days with us and, kind of see our culture, and simultaneously, we get to see if you're someone we can build a rapport with and a relationship with.
We have a lot of things that we try to use to remind us of what we're supposed to be doing. And certainly sense of urgency is one of those phrases that helps remind us. That's the feeling we have to have inside to complete our job. It's underneath every clock in every one of our restaurants. So as you're looking at the clock, trying to make sure that you're on time, you see those three with a sense of urgency. And it's used as a catalyst to keep you moving.
Everything else is symmetrical, and then the floor goes that way. It's fantastic.
This incredible kitchen has been going for 8 years. The menu changes daily, and all that Thomas Keller's done is created a philosophy and provided the tools in place. The creativity of the team is allowed to follow his philosophies. There's a lot of pressure here.
I've seen some marbled beef in my time, but that is unbelievable.
Your day begins the night before when you write your menu. They write all of their own menus. They follow all the same rules where we don't repeat ingredients. You come in and you check all of your product, because a lot of the times you write a menu the night before and it's just based on a phone call of, hey, we've got something really cool. So we squirreled away.
Do you get anything off roofs, farming?
There are some. We get some stuff. There's a couple farmers in Brooklyn to bring us some cool stuff.
And you think about local sustainability, typically we think about geography. We think about that as being somewhat in proximity to the location that you're using it. Sustainability goes farther than just the practices, it goes to community. Because if we weren't, or other chefs like myself, weren't supporting the fishermen in Stonington, Maine, for example, the fishermen who are out there every day in the small community lobstering or fishing or scalloping or clamming. If we weren't buying those wonderful ingredients and having them shipped across the country or trucked down here to New York, then that community wouldn't be sustained. Those fishermen wouldn't be there. The children of those fishermen wouldn't be there. The schools, the markets, all those things, that community would be gone. So we have to think about sustainability in a broader way than just about the practicing and the technique of what we think is sustainable. We have to think about individuals and people and how we need to sustain them as well.
When the chef calls a particular order, the entire team will say, "Yes, chef." And it's a deep thunder of a, "Oi." Ooh, mm. And it's primal.
We're ready for three VIP tasting.
You know, one person he was yelling at, "Where's my duck? You know, come on, where is it? I called it." And he said, I need 3 duck, followed by 6 by 3. So it was like the guy who had 18 ducks coming up after the 3 he was putting up. The pressure on the guy, you know, down, "Yes, chef." And he goes, "Where's my duck? I'm waiting for my duck." And it's just that little bit of pressure, just letting him know that he's worried about that section catching up because everybody else is ready, sauces are ready. And the most important thing, you know, your steamed greens or your little leeks or whatever else is coming out with the dish. Something that takes 30 seconds has to hit the table at the same time as something that takes 3 hours. And you're talking about timing. It's everything.
We are all there together so that if someone trips, someone's there to catch them. No one ever falls. And that's very important to build a structure like that, where there's that common vision, that common goal, and that common support for one another.
How did this machine evolve? You just didn't go out and set this up and have everybody turn up one day and say, "Let's cook food." This machine, this slow train, has evolved. Obviously, it's the child of the French Laundry. But the way in which it's evolved, I think, is fascinating. I really don't know what to make of this place. I've seen passion, I've seen precision, I've seen an incredible kitchen or two, and it's just confusing at the moment. Where are their audience coming from? Is it just people with money, or is it people that understand food? It's intriguing. So following the formal dining rooms of Per Se and 11 Madisson, I'm off to Mama Faku, David Cheng's Asian-influenced street food, very accessible restaurant.